Okay, we are live, but we're letting it breathe just for a second because we got to bring on our Facebook clan. And then we will polish off what has been a phenomenal Thanksgiving weekend. And we are good. So, welcome in, everybody. It is the Huddle Up podcast presented, as always, by Mile High Huddle, powered by Blue Wire Podcasts. And I'm your host, Chad Jensen. With me, my fellow football priest, you know him, you love him, Zack Kelberman. Zack, off the cuff, both you and I were like a couple of, we're suffering from, I don't know if you'd call it battered wife syndrome, Stockholm syndrome, I don't know, but neither one of us trusted the Broncos enough to pick them in this game, and yet they came out and pretty well handled the Chargers. What was your gut reaction?
Well, as I wrote on the roundtable, I said, I'm going to pick them now to lose, so obviously they're going to win. And they don't just win, Chad. They come out with a resounding, commanding, season-saving victory. And first things first, so nothing gets twisted and nothing gets turned against me, credit where it's due to Vic Fangio for having the Broncos ready for this game. Coming out of the bye week, the defense was fired up, and he had a great game plan to contain and neutralize Justin Herbert and Austin Eckler. They were held to a minimum. I mean, you had a pick six at Herbert. We'll get into more PS2 later and how great that makes George Payton look. But credit to Vic Fangio. The Broncos were ready to go. It's always been a big criticism of mine about his. And also, credit to Teddy Bridgewater. It wasn't the greatest game, but I give him credit for gutting through, battling back, and playing through the injury, willing the Broncos to a touchdown drive that reclaimed the momentum that they lost and that they never relinquished after that. Because you saw the alternative, and we're going to get into a lot of lock talk, I'm sure. I have some side plates and napkins and utensils. I'm willing to eat some crow on Drew Lock. Teddy Bridgewater, though, he didn't lose the Broncos the game. He did enough to help win the Broncos the game. The defense won the day. Vic Fangio's unit won the day. The coaching was mostly up to snuff. Even Pat Shurmur snuck a few screen passes in there, got Javonte Williams going. A lot of players of the game, Chad, all of them George Payton imports. This is what happens when you have competent coaching and great general manager managing, stocking the shelves.
Management, I guess.
Yeah, and it's just when it comes together, it's beautiful. But I think it's a great reflection considering the talent he imported: Kenny Young, Stephen Weatherly. The signings: Ronald Darby, obviously Patrick Surtain, Baron Browning, Jonathan Cooper, Quinn Miners. These are all George Payton guys. And when it all comes together, and there's great play on the field, and there's great coaching on the sidelines, you saw what can happen today. Very impressed.
I'm not ready to eat crow on Drew Lock. It was ugly. His interception was inexcusable. I'm not going to try and excuse it. It was bad. Something's gotten between that dude's ears. I mean, he was always a little half-cocked, right? He was always and he fancies himself a gunslinger. But that play was just ridiculous. You got to know you can't make that throw, especially with arguably the best safety in the NFL, or, let's just say top 5 safety in tight, close coverage, and you're throwing to your 5th or 6th guy on the depth chart. I mean, you just have to be able to do that math in your head in a nanosecond. That's what separates, true franchise guys from guys who are going to bump their head and struggle. And Drew Lock's got some of those tools, but something has gotten to him. And I'm sure it was the benching and losing his seat and all that stuff has affected him. But Zach, I don't think we need to make this podcast a referendum on Drew Lock or not. We have a lot to celebrate. We have a lot to get to tonight. And before we do, let's grab 1 or 2 super chats, Scott, because some people have been very patient, and then we'll get to some matters of business. We'll keep talking about this. But Chris, as always, Zach, his super chats on a gut reaction are symbolic. Thank you very much, bro. He's here today. He's here earlier today for Kelberman's Corner at halftime as a Facebook supporter. Chris Hernandez, legendary super chat superstar. And he says, victory. Hashtag click those little thumbs up. Love you, bro. Appreciate it. What was it from Entourage? Remember that scene where he hollers victory into the void? That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Great. Johnny Drama. Jess C hopping in here, Chad. $1.99 super. Great to see you, Jess, as always. He goes, nice win after the bye. Rack up more W's. Let's go. You know what, Chad? Suddenly, we have playoff implications at stake next Sunday night. Huge, huge showdown with the Kansas City Chiefs. You win that game. You have the Detroit Lions after that. You're talking about maybe 8-5 for the stretch run. You're talking about a wild card berth. Hell, you might be talking about the AFC West. As improbable as it sounds, I'm not ready to crown the Broncos a legitimate playoff contender. Once more, they'll have to prove it. It can be 2 consecutive games in a row, and this wasn't a mirage. But this step forward, beating Herbert, taking command, or getting back in the AFC West hunt, they're 1-1 now.
Absolutely.
You have to beat the teams in front of you, and you beat Kansas City. Great things can happen.
Man, it's been so long. Since they beat the Chiefs, do you dare to hope? Do you dare to dream? Christian, what's good, bro? He says, do you see a scenario where we trade for Aaron Rodgers and draft Carson Strong? Well, unless something changes, Zach, on his medicals, I think Carson Strong is a second-round pick at worst. Probably good chance he ends up a first-round pick. And so I don't see any scenario in which Aaron Rodgers gets here and you still have, I guess you do have 2 second-round picks this year. So there would be a slim chance, but I don't see it because you're going to be coughing up those picks, Zach, to acquire Aaron Rodgers. And as the camera continues to give us some fits.
Yeah, I apologize about that, guys. It's true that's the point I always want to make when these questions come up. It's going to be an either-or scenario because if you want to acquire Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, you're going to have to give up multiple first-round picks, plural, not just one, and you're not going to have the compensation to draft Carson Strong, a likely first-round pick, or Malik Willis, or Kenny Pickett, or Matt Corral, whatever quarterback you want to name there. So it's an either-or scenario. It's up to you and your opinion. It's subjective as to the plan that you think George Payton has. I think he'll go the younger route, but if he goes the older route, could very well be the case. But one or the other, either or.
Guys, so much more to get to, and we are so stoked to talk with you tonight after Thanksgiving on a victory gut reaction. We love it. We love it. But first, guys, we got to say thank you and tip our cap to the presenting sponsor of tonight's live stream podcast, and that is MyBookie. Gang, on the heels of Turkey Day, MyBookie is giving you plenty of reasons to be thankful right now. You can set yourself up for success by heading to mybookie.ag and double your first deposit when you use the promo code MHH. That's promo code MHH to double your initial deposit all the way up to $1,000. So you won't need to break the old wishbone if you still got those leftovers to come out ahead.
Yeah, guys, feast risk-free with MyBookie and make sure to stick around as they gear up for what should be a fun Cyber Monday with tons of odds boosts that will have your belly and your pockets full. Bet anything, anywhere, anytime with MyBookie.
That's right, guys. MyBookie.ag. Use the code MHH to capitalize on that $1,000 match up to. Anyway. All right. Let's see where we're at here. So much to get to. Chad's shiny marble jumping in. What's good, dude? The marble is satisfied. The D played extraordinary, but what in Sam Hill was Fangio doing at the end of the second quarter? Run, timeout, run, spike, run. Yeah, that's still one of Fangio's blind spots, and I think it always will be. Coach's shelf life, Zach, it's pretty finite if they don't find a way to kind of capture lightning in a bottle and figure things out. Fangio's time, it's ticking. We'll see if he can turn the ship around. Like if he can somehow, Zach, capitalize and sustain this momentum and really make a stretch run, keep these Denver Broncos relevant down the stretch, they could have a shot at the playoffs. And if they do make the playoffs, I think they keep Vic Fangio and his staff around. But that's one area of his game as a coach, Zach, of his wherewithal, his expertise, that he definitely still continues to struggle.
First of all, this is obviously your burner account, right, Chad? I mean, it would be too on the nose, I feel like. But worse than anything else, what is he doing challenging the Herbert run, the scramble? He was obviously down. Whoever he's getting information from up in the booth, he needs to fire because he's so historically bad at challenges with the Broncos. Seems like he's never won them before, and they're getting worse and worse and more egregious. It's true, situational management was never Fangio's strong suit. It may never be Fangio's strong suit, but as long as he contains it for the better part of 60 minutes, the Broncos should be okay.
Mark from Georgia, what's going on, big dog? You called me twice over the last few days. Both times you called me right in the middle of something. We'll catch up. Don't worry, bro. He says, what's up, my guys? Great team win and lock sucks. Huddle up pod, MHH. Hashtag Scott Kennedy, a great dude. Pleasure meeting him. Have a good night. That's right. You guys had a liaison to give him his mug in Georgia, Scott. Were you able to document this meeting of the minds with a photograph? Dak gummit. Oh, well. Mark, we'll meet you next year, right? We'll catch you on the meet and greet in 2022.
God treatment for the God King. Mark
That's right.
deserves nothing less than that. Thank you, Mark.
Eclipse Stormborn had to deal over the last 2 weeks with the pain of being a Philadelphia Broncos fan and the Philadelphia Eagles stomping the Broncos and then going into a 2-week abyss where you have the bye week and you're just getting ragged on. How much of a relief it must have been for Troy, a.k.a. Eclipse Stormborn, to get a victory today, climb out of that hole. He says, happy Sunday, priests and Broncos family. Looks like Surtain is for certain. I like that. Great division win, good team win, peace and love from Philly, and of course, his MHHUN hashtag and beat Kansas City. Yes, indeed, man. You know what's funny is I got the pick wrong, right? I picked the Chargers to beat the Broncos, but my one bold prediction was Patrick Surtain was going to get himself an interception, make a big play.
Nice.
He made a couple of them, Zach.
Yep. I mean, you saw what he can do. He's a future All-Pro as far as I'm concerned, and maybe the not-too-distant future. He really has that upside. It's another George Paton pick, and it's crazy that people still, to this day, criticize George Paton for taking Patrick Surtain in that spot. If Micah Parsons did not exist, Patrick Surtain would be the runaway defensive rookie of the year, and going forward, he's going to be a star that shines brighter and brighter. Watching him play is a treat, Chad. And he's personally making the secondary what we thought we'd be getting going into the season.
Dave Glassman, good to see you, brother. Good to see you. You were there for KK this afternoon at halftime. Here you are again. We appreciate you, bro. Get your reading in because, as we talked about, Broncos Book Club starts Saturday at noon. Getting it back going with the Nate Jackson must-read, The Tome, Slow Getting Up. If you guys want to be in on Broncos Book Club, go to our Facebook page, Mile High Huddle, facebook.com/Mile High Huddle, big blue button to become a supporter. You're in like Flynn. You can either pick up the book and read along with us. And what we do, just like any book club, once a week we get together. I'll host it. It's an open forum. We share our takeaways and insights from what we're reading on the Denver Broncos, and that's what's next. So I encourage you to do that. Timmy Shields, what's good, bro? He says, great win, but proof the biggest problem with this team is quarterback, both Locke and Teddy. Yeah, neither quarterback really looked all that hot. Teddy, but here's what I'll say, Zach, is you saw what the value, holy schmoly, the DWI guys already in first place in the top 5 on Super Chat going into tonight with a freaking top rope Super Chat. Wow. Absolutely blowing. Look, as you guys saw from the Shining Marble, right? Not much hair left, but what few I have popping through these 42-year-old pores is gonzo. So DWI guys, hey, man, we love you. We appreciate you. You've been absolute studs for the morning show in particular. He says, finally, I can stay up long enough to chat with the legends. Wow. Thank you so much, dude. Lights are on thanks to DWI.
I mean, you talk about legends. You should, point the finger right back at yourself, guys, the DWI guys. You guys were legends for doing that, and, our appreciation honestly knows no bounds. Thank you so much. It's amazing.
You're awesome. You're awesome. We've been keeping close tabs on you, seeing how much you've been contributing, especially when you can, because of the big time differences, obviously, especially for Broncos for Breakfast, which, of course, they'll be back in the morning on the Bright, so I'm sure they're looking forward to seeing you. But thank you so much. If I knew your name, I'd credit your name. Thank you, bro. But, Zach, what you got to see here today, what was hammered home to me anyway, is, we kind of played down. Well, look, Vic Fangio, he erred on the side of the higher floor as opposed to the higher ceiling, all that stuff. We talk about that, and it's true. And we say, well, how far did that get him? During the 4-game losing streak, Teddy turned it over 6 times. But you kind of saw today, when this team plays with heart, when this team plays with intensity, the defense has the talent, the rushing game, that offensive line, whether it's 2s or 3s, comes in and they bowl people over. What you need is a quarterback to just simply keep you on schedule and don't give it away. And that's what Teddy was able to do, which is why they cruised to a pretty solid win. And you can't apparently trust Drew Lock to do that.
Exactly. I mean, what a great opportunity Drew Lock had, and what an amazing opportunity he blew by fumbling his second snap and then throwing a god-awful pick. I'm not totally off the Drew Lock bandwagon, but that might have been his final snaps in a Broncos uniform. And if they are, that's the reason why Vic Fangio went where he did with Teddy Bridgewater. Because I agree with you. When the defense plays up to what we think we know they can be, or what we thought we'd be getting with them, they can be an elite smothering unit that completely takes away even the best quarterbacks in the NFL, like Justin Herbert, even the best running backs in the NFL, like Austin Eckler. It makes, for the most part, Keenan Allen a non-factor, Mike Williams a non-factor. So that's what we always want from the Broncos, is playing with that fire, playing with that want to, playing with that intensity. And for me, as I kind of vamp here until Chad, I guess he popped out for a second, Scott, that fire starts with Kenny Young, in my opinion. If you see him, guys, and let me know if you guys agree with this as well, and Chad's back.
My browser just crashed inexplicably, but we should be good now.
I was mentioning that if you notice, Chad, maybe you have a different viewpoint, but I was talking about the energy getting going in the Broncos defense, and it's so important, obviously sets the tone. It's the reason why they blew the Cowboys out. They came out with the same intensity. That starts with Kenny Young. Because if you watch him on the field, on the sidelines, whether he's making a tackle or Baron Browning's making a tackle or anybody else, he's always hopping around in there, chasing people around, celebrating, yelling, screaming. They didn't have that before. Josie Jewell and Alexander Johnson are good players, but they didn't bring that to the table. Kenny Young has great range, great closing speed, but intangibly, his personality, his fire, his energy, it's contagious, and it's completely revitalized and transformed the Broncos defense. It starts with him on the field as far as I'm concerned.
I love that dude's energy. Pardon me. And even when, I could be misremembering this, but I'm pretty sure I'm not, on Surtain's pick 6, he was on the sideline, right, catching a breather. And as he picked that off, dude, you could just see that guy, how much passion he had for the moment. And that's infectious, and you need that. And for the most part with Kenny Young, I mean, there have been a few rough moments, but it's coming out in the wash, his impact emotionally, and then also what he brings to the table as a player. Claude, thank you for the stars, bro. Happy for the win, he says, but if Teddy put the same effort into the Philly game as he did this one, we'd be 7-4. Glad to see him show some toughness this week. Go Broncos. He did show some grit, Zach. And Miguel saying, great win for Broncos country. Is this Fangio's first win off the bye? Yes,
he was 1-1.
Oh, you mean all time?
He was 1-1 coming into this
so
game.
2-1 now, all time.
Yeah, and you know, the thing about Kenny Young is what he brings to the table, you saw covering Austin Eckler. You saw the same thing with Baron Browning as well. But I can't remember, Chad, the last time the Broncos had true inside linebackers with their closing speed, their range. It makes all the difference for a defense when you have a good front four, front three, when you have a great back end, or at least on paper a great back end, you're missing that cog in the middle. And just, again, his insertion into the lineup has been what Alexander Johnson's was back in 2019. It's that one little piece that you can tinker with, and it makes a world of difference. And I think it's made a lot of players better around him. Kyle Fuller in the secondary being one.
I think one of the big difference between Kenny Young and AJ is AJ, very good run defending linebacker, but the emotional spark that Kenny Young provides, I don't think there's really anyone on that side of the ball that I've seen this year that can match him. Although today I saw some really cool intensity, emotional fire from Baron Browning, and golly, the future with that kid is so, so bright. If he can just stay healthy, he's a stud. Drew, what's going on, big dog? Thank you for the super chat. Great game, he says. The defense played great. Surtain, obviously. Browning had a coming out party. Respect to Teddy for gutting it out. I thought it was irresponsible and selfish to send him out limping, though. Well, I mean, look at it like this. I feel you, Drew, but Zach, here's how I looked at it. All right. Drew Lock about gave Vic Fangio a stroke. We got Zeus in the house. What's going on, Zeus? Love you. Hope you've been well. Hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. But Vic Fangio, his job's on the line, dude. His job is now on the line, and you could sit and talk about how that's his own fault and all of his decisions and faux pas and shortcomings, or why his job is on the line. But nevertheless, when Teddy went out and Drew came in and let the ball hit the ground on 2 separate occasions, one of which was a turnover, and Teddy's telling you, yeah, I can go. I don't blame Vic for going back to Teddy when you're basically here on out, you're in must-win territory.
Yeah, it wasn't garbage time. The Broncos were leading at halftime, and it was a big AFC West divisional game, you know, kind of getting late season now. So I thought Vic Fangio, I've hammered him for sending Teddy out there hurt or not playing Drew Lock, but I think he made the right choice. And I had a thought, and I wanted to make it now while I still remember, Chad. You know, you talk about the Philly game, and yeah, he could have done better. He could have given more effort, and, you know, he was a major cause of that run back by Darius Slay. But underscored in that is how Jalen Hurts ran wild. Boston Scott ran wild on the Broncos defense. It wasn't just Teddy Bridgewater that lost them the Eagles game. It was a lot of factors Bridgewater's non-tackle being one of them. But you saw the run defense step up today. You saw the containment, not just in the pocket with Herbert, but on the edges with Austin Eckler. It makes a world of difference. And that's all Chad and I have ever been saying. When we got down on the Broncos, it's always been with the caveat when they play and coach up to their potential, which has been espoused and written on paper. They can be a really good team and beat really good teams. And we saw that happen today.
It's like George Payton said in his presser following the Sutton and Timmy P extensions. You saw what kind of team we can be when we play up to our potential in Dallas. And you got another glimpse of that. Perhaps not quite so just on the nose, out in front, dominant, palpable, but still a very strong win against a plus 500 opponent. Malachi Smith, good to see you, my friend. Says, glad we got a win above anything else. But if I'm Locke, I demand a trade going into next season. Glad we got a win, and I hope we beat KC next week. I think Drew is going to definitely see what he can do with his agent. This is my opinion. All right. This is not insider insight. I think he's going to see what can be done to maybe get out of Dodge because, he wore out, however you want to look at it. I still think it's questionable what happened this summer because you could have always gone to Teddy, yada, yada, yada. But his time here is pretty evidently burnt. And I think as a young player still in the league, Zach, with the level of talent that he has, if he gets another shot somewhere, you never know. And I just don't think it's going to come in Denver.
Yeah, my point of view on this is I don't think Locke's going to have to beg or demand a trade. I don't think it's going to get to that point. I think the Broncos can see the writing on the wall just like Drew Lock can. So as soon as they can and trade discussions open back up after the season, they're going to do what they can in the best interest of Drew Lock and for the team moving on from him. And, I saw a comment that said who would want Drew Lock. Well, when Josh Rosen is the number 2 quarterback for an NFL team in 2021, I think Drew Lock would get another shot. NFL coaches, offensive-minded coaches, quarterback whisperers like what Pat Shurmur claims to be, they love reclamation projects. And Drew Lock would be the biggest reclamation project or one of the biggest projects in the NFL next season. So he would, for even a 7th round, 6th round draft pick, conditional, whatever, I think he would draw some interest, and I think George Payton will oblige him with that in the offseason.
There's some coach, at least one, probably more, who had a decent evaluation on Drew Lock coming out in 2019, who thinks if I could just get him under my wing, if I could just get him in my system, I think he could be X. So we'll see. Randy, what's going on, bro? By the way, your jersey ordered today. Thank you for the information. I don't know when it will ship, hopefully within the next week or so, and you should get it well before Christmas, I would expect. But Randy, appreciate you. Thank you for the stars, big dog. He says, we were not out-coached. PS2 rocked it. Yeah, Vic Fangio, particularly on defense, tip your cap to him because he had one of his little acolytes across, as the head coach of the opponent tonight. And he showed him, hey, let's not forget, I'm the master here of this scheme. And let me show you how to confound one of the most hype-filled quarterbacks currently in the NFL. Made Justin Herbert look pedestrian.
Great word. I was thinking the exact same thing. Yeah, I don't think it's a measuring stick for Vic Fangio because there's an argument to be made that he should have outcoached his former, student in Brandon Staley. He should have been the master in that situation. What I give Vic Fangio bigger credit for was, again, having the Broncos ready for this game. We saw so many instances, Baltimore, Vegas, Pittsburgh, where they came out completely flat, like they wanted nothing to do with the game. Cleveland, for example, this was the opposite of that. This was that Dallas intensity. And if they can just maintain this, whatever Vic Fangio did leading up to this game, just replicate that going forward. Don't make any changes, be superstitious, and keep in your regiment because this works for Denver. Having your players ready to play leads to good things. What a concept.
All right, here we got West Side Philly. What's going on? Appreciate you. Not making any excuses for Locke, but as soon as he entered the game, the play calling went from no creativity to I don't trust this guy, and that energy played a part in that terrible play, in my opinion, probably. But here's another thing, a bone that I have to pick is how you interpret what I'm about to say. I'm not sure. I still don't quite interpret it. Do they trust Locke or don't they? I'm talking about the offensive guys because when he came in on his first 3rd down, it was a 3rd and 3, I think, 3rd and 4. They ran shotgun, but they kept Javonte in the backfield. And I'm thinking, okay, here we're going to get one of those Peyton Manning shotgun handoffs to Noshawn Moreno, right off the opposite tackle. But then he motions out, Zach, and Javante's gone, and he's in the empty on 3rd and short. And it's like, all right, okay, we're telegraphing it's throwing time. That means that would imply anyway, Zach, that you love or you trust the quarterback, or you're not, at the very least, you're not worried he's going to do anything bad. Then he scrambles, and that's where the fumble came, right? And Timmy P picks it up, big heads up play, gets the first down. But it's really weird. It's really weird. Thank God that when Drew was in the game after that, the Broncos rushing attack turned on, and it was mostly smooth sailing till that pick.
Well, I mean, I had a criticism when I think it was Locke's first or second series. There was a 3rd down. He threw a little dump off, and Pat Shurmur evidently wouldn't let Locke throw down the field. And the next series, after I complained for it, Locke threw that pick. So it's like Pat Shurmur, in that sense, made the right call. But is it a secret anymore that Vic Fangio and Pat Shurmur don't like Drew Lock, don't trust Drew Lock? I think we all know that by now. So how surprised can we really be, Chad, that when Drew Lock has to enter the game, the Broncos start biting their fingernails? Vic Fangio and Pat Shurmur, they don't know what to do. They don't like it. They don't trust Drew Lock. They want their guy, their steady Teddy, back under center. And until he is, they're going to try to minimize Lock's impact on the game as much as possible. And even while doing that, Lock still threw that pick. That's why it's so bad. That's why it's so egregious. And that's why I see a lot of people jumping further off the bandwagon, if there still is one.
It's good to see Ren99. It's been a minute. How are you? Been with us a long time, but we haven't seen you in a live stream anyway. I'm sure you've been listening, but we're freaking stoked to have you. Hey, he says, if we can play like we did today, the rest of the season, we could be a playoff team, and a scary one at that. This is my fear, is the Broncos get a nice cruising win like this against a solid plus 500 opponent, and then everyone gets their hopes up again, and then you come crashing down. No, I'm not saying that to prophesy. I'm not predicting that. That's my fear, all right? And maybe in that sense, I'm projecting it onto you guys, and if I got to apologize for that, I will. But this is where we're at. We don't know what version of the Broncos we're going to get on a week-in, week-out basis. And see, Patrick Havener, appreciate you.
Happy to Havener on here, Patrick. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You don't want to keep buying in because you touch the hot stove, you get burned, and then you're so reticent and you're so apprehensive to touch the hot stove again, but you want to so bad. There's something drawing you to it. And that's how I feel like when I'm going to pick the Broncos and the Chiefs game next week. Can the Broncos pull it off? It gives you hope. It gives you optimism that they're turning a corner, like we saw with 3-0, like we saw after the Dallas game. But like every other time, it proves to be a mirage. There was the Baltimore game after 3-0. You know, there was the Eagles game after Dallas. What's going to be in this Kansas City game? It's another measuring stick. It's another barometer. The Broncos are 1-1 right now in those situations. This is their final tiebreaker, Chad, to see what the 2021 Broncos are made of and how far they can go.
Andrew Baker, it is great to see you. Appreciate you, bro. Oh, baby, how about that defense? Still not sure how to feel about this team, but man, let's enjoy this. Hashtag MHH for life, Denver Broncos for life. Yes, indeed. Just like our message was, oops, sorry about that. Throw that back on. When the Broncos were getting kind of shaded for beating the 3 opponents they did to open the season, we're like, hey, you don't know how long it's going to last, so enjoy these wins. When you beat the Dallas Cowboys, we're like, don't apologize for for anything. Enjoy this win. We're telling you the same thing now. Soak it in while you can. Raj, appreciate you. Love the show. Is it time for Brett Rippon to be the backup? Zach, you had an interesting take on this during KK.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if you end up being right on this.
You know, I said considering the fact that I think it's common knowledge by anyone who covers the team, even on a moderate basis, that Vic Fangio does not like Drew Lock. And Pat Shurmur is not really high on Drew Lock either. They're big Teddy guys. So they gave Lock, or they were forced to give Lock one more chance. He came in the game, huge opportunity, huge moment, huge game. And what does he do? He proves Fangio and Pat Shurmur right, that he can't hold on to the ball, literally. He can't avoid turnovers. He's taken steps backward in his development, and it just further buries him in the doghouse. And I think he can be buried to such an extent that they say, forget this. We're not even going to risk him coming into the game. We'll have Brett Rippon, who's like a lighter version, like a poor man's version of Teddy Bridgewater, come in the game. We know he's not going to lose the game. He can be safe. He can be the game manager. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but Locke coming in, fumbling, throwing a pick, I don't think it endears him any more to the coaching staff. And whereas it seems like Brett Rippon, there's something that's keeping him around in the Broncos building, whether it's the coordinator, the head coach, or someone else.
There's just something about Drew right now, his energy, which is it's kind of weird. Maybe he's just taking on the complexion of the team itself emotionally, but when he's out there on the field, there's not really that confidence that something great can happen. It's more of a sense of foreboding and misgiving that something bad could happen, right? And that I think is just I don't necessarily think that's like where he's at in his career or that's what he's always going to be. I just think right now, Zach, in this particular moment in time, the energy, the football karmas, whatever you want to call it, the winds aren't blowing in Drew's direction. And I think the Broncos realize that. Thank you for the super chats, y'all. I think the Broncos realize that. And as long as they can ride Teddy this season, they're going to. But I do think they're looking for upgrades at the position next year because, I mean, look at what you saw today. Teddy, all he had to do was keep things on track, and everyone else kind of carried the water and cruised to victory. But in the games where you need your quarterback to be the deciding factor, we have yet to see Teddy really rise up and be that for this team, even though he's had moments and opportunities to do so. It's Lars. What's up, bro? If you have to check out what the Broncos posted on their Instagram, hilarious. I'll check it out. I'll see if I can find it.
And I saw a comment, Chad, kind of to put a bow on the lock, Teddy stuff. We're 31 minutes into the podcast. We have to focus on the players that won the Broncos the game. There were so many good moments in this game, so many MVPs of this game, and we got a super a couple seconds ago about Patrick Surtain. Certainly could make a case for defensive player of the game today. You had Baron Browning play well, Kenny Young play well, Ajim played well, Weatherly played well. A lot of the front seven stepped up. The linebackers, the secondary, Kyle Fuller played well. Caden Stearns played well. And there's so many things to talk about and harp on in a positive way. So we should talk about that. Like David's saying here, 999 Super. Thank you, David, so much. Great win. Have a couple of questions. Do you guys believe that Baker Mayfield will be available this offseason? And do you guys see Denver being interested? What do you think about that, Chad?
Sorry, I was checking out the Instagram post. I would show that, by the way, but we would get copyright claimed on Facebook and YouTube, so I can't show you guys what he's talking about, but go check it out. David, possible, but I doubt it. I really do doubt it. I know he's been banged up and whatnot, but when you've got a guy, I don't know. I just think they've searched for so long, and you've got more reason, in my opinion, to believe if you're the Cleveland Browns that Baker can be your guy long term than you have to not believe it. So let's see, 18, 19, 20, 20, 21. Yeah, I mean, they picked up his fifth year, so he's going to be a Brown next year unless they try to trade him. What have you heard on that topic? I mean, are there Cleveland insiders saying the Browns are going to look to move on? Why is this even a subject?
Well, I think because he hasn't gotten a long-term deal from Cleveland. He's playing so poorly this year. And, I was a big Baker fan coming out. I thought he could have been QB1 of that class. But if you can't win with an elite offensive line, Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb, Jarvis Landry, David Njoku, you had Odell Beckham. You can't win with these players. You're still performing that bad. And elite coaching, by the way, with Kevin Stefanski. I don't know what he can do to kind of take the next step of his career. A lot of baggage with him. He'd be expensive. I'm not on that train, Chad. Either draft the guy or go after A-Rod.
Dude, I'd be all over that, to be honest with you. I still have a thing for Baker from when he came out in 2018, but I'm looking at he's 5-5 as a starter this year. He's got 10 touchdowns to 6 picks, 2,100 yards. I'm looking here for what's his rating? 91 QB rating. I mean, he's not playing like next level, but I'm telling you, I'd take him in a heartbeat. Michaela, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Love you. The Duchess flexing. She says, PS2, baby. Happy for this week. LOL. Sorry, been gone for a few days. Have family visiting. No need to apologize. We hope you got to enjoy your family. We hope everyone within the sound of our voice got a great chance to be with family, whether it's those you see every day or those that you don't get to see as often. So hope you had a great, happy Thanksgiving, Michaela.
Yeah, thank you so much, Michaela, for gracing us with your presence once again. Hope you've had a great Thanksgiving. Everyone else out there, I want to echo what Chad's saying. And what a way to punctuate it, Chad, with the Broncos commanding victory like today. Hope you're enjoying, Michaela. Everyone out there, PS2 was a baller today. Again, future All-Pro. If not this year, definitely next year. I don't know about Champ Bailey 2.0, but my God, what a player.
Zach, pop quiz, okay? Baker Mayfield has started 55 games. What do you guess is his QB record?
55, 55 games, his QB record. I would say it's a net positive. So I'm going to say 30 and 25.
Barely net positive. He's 28 and 27
That's
for what
close.
it's worth. Corey H., thank you for that very generous super chat, my friend.
Thank you,
Two of the
Corey.
last 3 games, says Corey, the Broncos defense looked as advertised. Huge test next week, but this week, nothing but good things to say about our defense. Like they said at halftime, this Broncos team is a quarterback away from being a Super Bowl threat. That's true in so many ways. They need that. Again, George Payton told you how he defines a franchise quarterback, and that's a guy who can put a team on his back and win the game. When everything's going against you, or just simply when it's time for the quarterback to take over and really be that difference, that's how he defines a franchise quarterback. Teddy's not that guy. Doesn't look like Drew's that guy. Go find that guy.
Exactly. Whatever you have to do, whatever stone you have to overturn, you got to get that franchise quarterback. I would go the younger route. I would draft a guy and hope you can have the right coach to develop him. But both things can be true. And we're going to get this argument throughout the week now, Chad. It's inevitable. Teddy is not the future. Drew Lock is not the future. Both things are true. So you have to navigate to something else. You have to pivot to your next guy. And I think that guy comes through the draft. Hopefully.
JJ, what's going on? Good to see you. Thank you, my friend. Gotta love the young O-line guys carrying our backs for extra yards. I love it. I do, man. I mean, Dalton Reisner got hurt today. Lower back, I think it was.
Shocker.
Look, man, he's had some bad luck on the injury front this year. He's just really nicked up and banged up this season. But the offensive line, dude, I hate to say it, when he's out of the game, they play better. And today you saw Netani Muti step in. Quinn Minor's already a starter at right guard. Got to be excited about those young guys. Even Lloyd Cushenberry looking good today. The tackle situation, it's touch and go till they get their starters back. Calvin Anderson, I don't know if there's been an update yet on his situation. But, hey, shout out to Quinn Bailey for coming in, and they elevated him off the practice squad last night. So props to him. And then here's Travis Zach, and then I'll serve it over to you. Thank you, Travis. Kenny Young just might be taking AJ or Jules' spot when it comes to who gets re-signed.
I don't want to jump ahead or, it's speculation, but I think Calvin Anderson tore his ACL in his knee or something. That looked bad. He was in a lot of pain. He was carted off. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a significant injury. I thought the O-line, for the most part, played pretty well. They had some pressure, but Teddy was able to escape or get away from it somehow. Did you take a look at Cam Fleming, though, drag Javonte Williams like he was a 5-year-old, being bad in the store, being punished? It was crazy. It just, the power of the drive and the way the Broncos own the trenches on both sides of the ball. I mean, it starts there. And the offensive line down both tackles. They lost a third tackle. The interior played well. Quinn Miners may have been the Broncos' best offensive lineman today. And it's been a world of difference with him stepping in there for Graham Glasgow. And I think the same thing will be true with Moody coming in for Reisner.
Dude, that's how it's been since every time he's been on the field, he's been the best lineman the Broncos have. You could argue maybe Ballsy when he's on the field, but it's palpable with Miners, man. It is undeniable, and you don't get the miscues, right? The face palm, 3 years it takes to turn the corner like you got with Ballsy. So lots to be excited about with Quinn Miners. Pete Middleton, what's good, bro? Thank you for your support as always. He says, MHH's Lance Sanderson predicting the Broncos win. So Lance and Kenneth Booker predicted a Bronco win, the only two in the roundtable. Great result with a makeshift O-line. Do we even have any tackles? Yeah, it's Quinn Bailey, and you're hoping – I mean, I think, Zach, there's pretty good reason to expect, because Garrett Bowles is healthy now. He didn't play today because he's on the CV reserve list, and you need 2 negatives in consecutive days, tests, to clear and come off of that list. And I think there's good reason to believe he will this week. So you're probably getting Bowlesy back for the Chiefs game. And then, we'll see about Bobby. But once you get those tackle situations stabilized, I'll be interested to see what kind of juice this O-line can really muster down the stretch.
Yeah, I hope for Garrett Bowles. I don't think it's a certainty because the league is increasing their protocols, and Garrett Bowles has to also be asymptomatic for a certain amount of time. But I think he'll be coming back. But you have to protect yourself. But then you'd be one snap away, something happening from starting Quinn Bailey. What if one of them gets hurt? Cam Fleming is not the solution at right tackle either. They miss Bobby Massey. So I would maybe see a practice squad call up or maybe even an outside signing just to give yourself some insurance because you're obviously snake bitten at that spot. It's not losing one tackle. You're on your fourth one now.
Dude, Pat Surtain, 2 picks and 4 solo tackles. The dude is like, I don't know. It's really weird. The number throws you off. It's still for me anyway. When I see a 2 on a player that it shouldn't be, I still, my subconscious tries to categorize as scrub, right? Like it's preseason game or something.
It's so perfect though. It fits him. I hate the single numbers too, but it's so perfect for him.
But dude, he reminds me of Champ Bailey. He really does. Just that, his swagger, his length, his style. Not quite the athlete that Champ was, obviously. Not many human beings that have ever walked the earth or the athlete that Champ Bailey is. But Justin, what's going on, brother? He says, I hope the Broncos don't get us all excited just to rip it away down the stretch. Hey, man, join the club. We're with you on that. But, it's one day at a time, one game at a time. Put it all behind you. Put the future. It's just what's on the plate for this week. And guess what? Kansas City Chiefs, primetime flex. It's going to be dope.
Just to your point about PS2, am I the only one that maybe sees a little more Jalen Ramsey than I do Champ Bailey? I mean, just his length and his ball skills, and I see maybe a later career transition to safety, kind of like Kareem Jackson's done. I mean, regardless of his player comp, he's going to be an all-pro, I think, for years to come, and he just saw a glimpse. His first preseason game, Chad, he was housing a pick. I mean, that was just a sign right there. The Broncos got a really good one, and I hope no one from this point forward doubts Peyton's pick at number 9 from this year's draft.
Broncos fan 13, appreciate the super. Great win. Also, do you guys know the status on Michael Ojemudia and Asang Bassi? Kyle Fuller really struggles in man coverage, especially in the nickel. He's not used to playing nickel, Kyle Fuller. He's always been a boundary guy. But I'll tell you, Asang Bassi's on the roster. Michael O, not quite. Let me double check something here. Zach, I'm relatively certain that Asang Bassi's been activated. We just haven't quite maybe seen him much. Let me double check that.
What Vic Fangio intimated recently was that Michael O is a little further behind than Asang Bassi. I wouldn't be surprised to see Bassi play next week. I want him to get a little more playing time over Nate Hairston. I still don't trust him in the secondary. But Fuller, I think, battled back nice today. I think he had a decent game, and he's kind of turned a little bit of a corner. Still not what the Broncos thought they were getting for $10 million. Not the player he once was, but a little better than what he was to start the year, I think.
Yeah, so Michael O's still on injured reserve. All right, Asang Bassi, pardon me, number 34. He is on the active roster. They did activate him off the PUP list, but I don't know how much action, if any, he's seen. I think today was the first game that he's been actually active. I saw him standing on the sideline, 34, but I'm trying to remember if I saw him on the field. We'll have to look at the snap counts when that gets updated later, and we'll know. Chandler, what's good, bro? Good to see you. Give people hope and then take it away from them, and people will be out with pitchforks and torches ready to destroy. Good win, but I'd be cautious. I think if you've learned nothing from Vic Fangio's Broncos for the better part of 3 years, it should be cautious. Even when you're optimistic, cautious optimism.
It's what I always live my life by, cautious optimism. You're always waiting for the other shoe to drop, Chad. You have it in the back of your mind that things could take a turn because that's what the NFL is. It's any given Sunday. No one expected the Broncos to come into Dallas and lay that whooping. I don't think many expected the Broncos to look as good as they did today. Conversely, raise your hand if you thought the Broncos would lose to Cleveland, or they would lose to Philadelphia, or, okay, Scott, I see you, or Vegas. I thought the Broncos, those would be gimme games or easier victories, and they weren't. So anything can happen, but this is another, like I said, litmus test. It's a mile marker, barometer, whatever word you want to use. This Kansas City game, however they come out, however they battle and play, I think will paint the real picture. It's crap or get off the pot time. It's late season now, week 13.
Did we shout out Seth Harmon for the sticker? We don't have time to try and find it, did we?
So.
Either way, Seth, thank you, bro. So I'm looking at this. Statistically, all right, the Broncos sacked Justin Herbert 4 times. Deshaun Williams got a half sack along with Malik Reed. And then you've got Big McTelvin Ajim. They had a hard time pronouncing his name with his first career sack, and it was a well-earned I mean, that wasn't one of those cleanups coverage sacks, Zach, where a big guy, gets to notch a statistic.
He beat his man.
Beat his man and got home, and it was really cool to see, and actually excited me because you got to remember with McTelvin Najim, this cat was a edge rusher at Arkansas, converted him eventually to inside where he put on pounds, and so he's got some twitch to him, but he's maybe taken a little bit longer to kind of percolate, Zach, than I think some fans hoped, being that he's a third-round pick, but great to see today.
I mean, just another feather in the cap of Bill Collar, the NFL's best defensive line coach. Whether it's Shelby Harris, Draymond Jones, Mike Purcell, even going back to Derek Wolfe and Malik Jackson, Bill Collar really is incredible. And McTelvin Najim is going to be the next breed of Broncos starting defensive linemen. It's great that he can stop the run. That's what he was drafted to do. And I think he'll eventually take Mike Purcell's starting spot as the anchor of the front seven long term. But when you're getting pressure like that, when you're beating your man one-on-one in pass rushing, and you are the stature of McTelvin Najim, that's impressive. You get that pressure, it makes everything easier for the other players, the other defensive linemen, and the other linebackers. And that's why it seemed like every time Herbert dropped back, he was scrambling for his life or breaking contain.
David Wilder says, what would it be like if Pookie was given 20 carries? I think he gets better as the game goes on because he can wear out a defense. He's one of those guys. Very, very apropos. Good insight there, David. For what it's worth, he finished up today with 14 totes to Melvin's 17. Melvin got 83 yards. Javonte picked up 54 on the ground, and then Javonte also chipped in 57 receiving yards on 3 receptions, whereas Gordon caught 1 ball for 5 yards. So it ended up being Zach, the rookie, leading the way on one side of the ball and a rookie leading the way on the other. So you got to love seeing that, man. That hints at a very bright future for this team.
Well, think about it. The Broncos, and this is my opinion, you guys might agree, the Broncos got the best cornerback and the best running back in this year's draft class at picks 9 and 35. I mean, what tremendous value. And, Melvin Gordon might get more carries. He might be the RB1 in title because of his veteran status. But I think anyone who watches the Broncos knows Javonte is RB1. I don't think I've ever seen him go down on first contact. I don't think I ever will, Chad. The way he runs and bulls forward and the contributions now to the passing game when he bolted down the sideline and breaks tackles, he is so multidimensional and he is a prototypical workhorse. The sooner they make him the starter and give him upwards of 20, 22, 25 carries a game, the better off they'll be for it. I hope Pat Shurmur learns that.
Yes, indeed. Joe Spade, thank you for that very, very generous super chat. Joe says, whole defense was great. Simmons catches a few of those as well, and it would have looked even better. A James sighting, really liked the pass rush and passing defense. A decent job containing Herbert from running. Love the show. Thank you, bro. Go Broncos. For what it's worth, I mean, Justin Herbert, I wouldn't quite say they contained him as a rusher. He finished as LA's leading rusher with 36 yards, and I know that's nothing to write home about. But he gashed him a few times, especially on third down. But look, Zach, if you take away his scrambles, the Chargers got 36 rushing yards today on 13 tries. Unbelievable. I mean, Vic Fangio not only put the smackdown on the passing offense, but, he laid it down against the run. I love seeing that. I think going up against Brandon Staley emotionally got his dander up.
And, Austin Eckler, he did a little damage in the passing game, but it wasn't like he went off for 150 yards and 3 touchdowns. He was mostly contained there as well. So when you neutralize Herbert, you take away Eckler, you're shutting down that Chargers offense completely. And that's why you saw when Herbert had nowhere to go, where they couldn't get into 2nd and 3, 2nd and 2. That's what they live on, Chad. Not 2nd and 9, 2nd and 8. You saw the pass rush get home and the defensive line step up. It was an all-around great effort on defense. Started with the coaching, the game plan, and ended with the performance on the field with the talent.
Kevin G, what's good? He says, what's up, guys? You probably talked about this, but do you think the money given to your wide receiver is a sign of getting a quarterback? I hope Aaron Rodgers. Who do you want? I don't have a fully formed, crystal perfect take on this quite yet. I'm still kind of marinating on that. But if you could get Aaron Rodgers here on a relatively cleanly, all right, and by that I mean you're not completely mortgaging the next 2 years of the draft, that would be probably my first go-to, would be Aaron Rodgers, because I think He's a guy that's probably going to play another 5 years minimum. Not minimum, 5 years. All right, 5 years. I think you could be relatively confident in that. But at the end of the day, guys, this team has still never drafted a franchise quarterback ever. So they got to get it right. And something about George Paton tells me that if there's going to be a guy that can change that, Zach, it's going to be him. And I shouldn't say never drafted a franchise, because I think Jay Cutler was trending in that direction. If you don't fire the band, get rid of Mike. And even if you do get rid of Mike, you don't trade Jay out of Denver. So something about that move affected his feng shui as a quarterback, etc. But I'm still leaning towards A-Rod. But you know what, Zach? If George Paton surveys the 2022 quarterback class and doesn't see one worthy of, a first-round pick, I'm going to trust that. And I just got to hope that if that's the case, he's got a better backup plan than Teddy.
Well, I mean, if you want to look at the facts and follow the breadcrumbs, George Paton has personally scouted 5 incoming quarterback prospects in the 2022 class. I know it's part of his job, but he's been there in person to see these quarterbacks, and last night was Carson Strong. So I don't know that he's paying the receivers because he has a certain quarterback in mind that he's angling to get. I think he's paying the receivers and building the supporting cast with Jerry Jeudy, Alberto, Noah Fant added in, Javonte Williams, because he wants to make things better for whatever quarterback comes along. Whatever way he decides to go, every quarterback likes weapons, Chad. Whether you're a rookie or a veteran, you need weapons to succeed. And George Paton knows that, and he's leaving himself wiggle room. Everything else is done. All you got to do is put the center, the force spice in the middle of the table. And that force spice is the quarterback, whatever route he goes. I want a rookie. I want a younger guy, hopefully with the right coaching to develop in. We go against the Herberts of the world, the Carrs of the world, the Mahomes of the world. Those were all homegrown guys, drafted and developed. It's time the Broncos do that and not keep relying on everyone else's leftovers.
Problem is, you make the playoffs, Fangio sticks around, which means Shermer sticks around, and I just don't trust these guys, if you did draft one, to do the right thing relative to development. But Zach, you really want to know why the Broncos won this game handily? It's right here, dude. 73% conversion on third down. That's basically unprecedented for these Denver Broncos. Remember, what was there, 3 or 4 teams in the league worse? That's it, than the Denver Broncos on third down going into this game. They were averaging something like 35% conversion rate on the money down. They converted 8 for 11 today. That's huge. And granted, one of those was Drew Lock's fumble that Timmy P picked up. So take that away. 7 for 10. That's still 70%. Phenomenal. Then you get down in the red zone, a perfect 3 for 3. These are the metrics when it's all said and done from a team perspective, Zach, that in most cases it predicts who are the good teams, who aren't. Broncos showed up big time in these 2 areas, which we clowned on Thursday night, right? We were sitting here going, man, how much worse can it get? And they answered the bell, so tip your cap to them.
I mean, in the Eagles game, they converted, I think they were 1 for 11 on third down. So when you go 8 for 11, that's a stark difference there. 73% is great. And also, not only were they 3 for 3 in the red zone, but 3 for 3 in goal-to-go opportunities. So when they were inside the 10-yard line, they weren't stalling out. They were punching the ball. Teddy had a great dive play where he hit the pylon. When you get those level of plays, when you finish drives and don't settle for field goals or push yourself back and punt or turn the ball over, good things can happen. When you give this Broncos defense a lead, good things can happen.
Absolutely. Just skimming over some of these team stats. Very interesting. All right, we got 1 or 2 more, and then we got to get on out of here, gang. 727 Mil, what's going on? Good to see you, bro. He says, good Denver win. Let's keep it going. ATP defense was good. What is that? ATP, Zach?
I don't know.
Defense was good. Teddy or Drew, we can make the wild card. Let's go, Broncos. I don't know, man. I'm just not liking Drew's energy right now. Something about him, like I don't feel I don't feel in any way, shape, or form that he is confident. And if you're not confident in yourself, you can't really expect others around you to be confident in you, especially your coaches.
I mean, I think it's fair to say that we were we were Drew Lock guys, and we were fans of his, and we were on that bandwagon. But if you gave me a choice right now, Teddy Bridgewater, Drew Lock, who would you start? I'm going Teddy. 10 out of 10 times. I mean, Locke had his opportunity. He comes in there against, it's not exactly the 85 Bears defense, this Chargers defense. They're beatable. I mean, they're beatable, especially on the ground with the running plays. And you had that going. But you come in the game and you're getting harassed and a body's draped across you and you don't ground the ball, you don't dirt the ball, you don't throw the ball out of bounds, you don't eat the ball and take the sack and live to fight another day. No, you make a stupid throw, an errant throw that cost your team a turnover and consequently a touchdown.
Yep, momentum, big momentum swing.
That guy can't play. If the Broncos want to play this brand of football, they can win with Teddy Bridgewater. They can't win with Drew Lock doing that.
Jake, thank you, bro. Hey, boys, great win, but our third down play calling is just too predictable, and that kind of ties into what Albert said here, too. By the way, happy belated anniversary to Albert and his great wife, Michelle, who we've had a couple of opportunities to hang out with. So he says Shermer won't change his offense. It would be like Fangio admitting that their thought patterns were wrong. Yeah, not really. I mean, there's little tweaks that they're going to make on the fly. They did some self-scouting. I mean, that's one of the, the benefits of the bye and one of the reasons why the NFL codified the bye and created it as a thing on the schedule is it gives NFL teams not only a reprieve from the physical attrition of the game, the players themselves, but it allows the coaches, Zach, to kind of kick back and go, all right, we spend each and every week scouting and examining the opponent. Let's turn that lens on ourselves and scout ourselves as if we were the opponent this week. What do we find as those glaring holes, weaknesses? What are our tells? What are the things we can perfect? And hey, credit to them because it looks like they figured out some things as far as third down, red zone. They didn't have to throw it a lot today. That was just kind of the way the game flow went. But if I'm going to pick any nits in today, Zach, it's that from a game planning perspective, you got Cortland Sutton, all right, and Tim Patrick, your brand new, newly paid franchise wideouts, combining for a gross 6 targets, 4 receptions, and 40 some odd yards. I mean, it was that kind of a day where you didn't need to go to him that much, but even Drew Lock, he put one up for Cortland deep. What happened? Exactly. Cortland drew a freaking penalty. You got to do that a couple of times a game. Teddy just doesn't do that, period. End of freaking story.
That's a big trend around the NFL now, is like kind of purposely underthrowing a deep ball and hoping the cornerback has no time to take, to turn around, get his head around, get his arms around. It usually draws a DPI, and it did in Cortland Sutton's case. That's what's so great about Cortland Sutton. That's why you paid him $36 million guarantee, Chad, because it's either he mosses you or he draws a penalty. That's a really good proposition for a receiver to be in a jump ball opportunity. In terms of Pat Shurmur's play calling, though, to get back to a previous question there, when you go 8 for 11 on third down, it's hard to really criticize that. I'm the first one to criticize Pat Shurmur's lack of creativity. He did impress me, though. It was later in the game. I can't remember exactly which drive. Third down, he dials up a screen. Perfect situation. I think it was to Javonte. Totally caught the defense off guard. Perfect play call in that opportunity. You can get by with the kind of game Pat called today. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough. It was better than it's been in certain weeks. Not saying a lot.
And you got an inspired performance from your depleted backup offensive line, still led by Lloyd in the middle, and your running backs were fire today. Coach Chris, what's going on, big dog? Good to see you, Coach. He says, glad to hear you guys tonight. We're trending on the up of this yo-yo season. A need, quarterback, right tackle, and new coaches. The defense carried us today. I don't know, man. Maybe you could survive and thrive with Vic Fangio as your head coach. But I need to see what you saw today from the offense from Pat Shurmur at least 2 times in a row.
Yeah.
I need to see some modicum of presence of mind, consistency. If I see it twice in a row, I'll start maybe considering changing my tune on Pat Shurmur in particular. But this dude has, let's be frank, credit him for today. This dude has sucked as an offensive coordinator for your Denver Broncos. Let's not, pretend otherwise.
Love it. I love the hot takes, Chad. They always hold water when you say them as well. He really has been very, very underwhelming, but every now and then he'll game plan for an opponent. The Chargers are so bad against the run, so he increases, relatively speaking, to the previous games, the touch count for Javonte and for Melvin Gordon. When you're getting Javonte the ball in his hands, whether through the air or on the ground, it's a good thing. Same for every other player on the offense. So when he learns that and he utilizes that, it's decent. He'll never be Sean McVay. He'll never be Bill Walsh. Far from it, Chad. But he can be better than he's been at some points this season where you wonder how he ever broke into the NFL in the first place and what decade is he living in. Just constantly try to scheme for your opponent, scheme to maximize your own strengths. And with this talent on paper, you'll be okay. We never talked about this question, Chad. Oh, the Broncos also need a running back and a receiver and a tight end. It was always coaching and quarterbacking. The rest of the roster was fine. And we're seeing that come out in the play of players like Cortland, Tim Patrick, Jerry Jeudy, who had a nice third down conversion, Javonte Williams. It's always been the quarterback and the coaching. When those things are up to par, you see what can happen. Dallas and now Los Angeles.
And think about the number of studs you've lost. I'm not just talking trading Vaughn, but let me just throw a few names that are chilling on injured reserve right now. Bryce Callahan, Graham Glasgow, KJ Hamler, Josie Jewell, Alexander Johnson. Let's see who else. Michael Lowe, but we haven't seen him yet this year.
Kareem was out for this game. Shelby Harris was out for this game. You know?
Yep.
Vaughn is obviously not around anymore. This entire roster is turned upside down, but the Broncos still have enough talent. Their cupboards are still stocked to that extent where they can weather that if they just coach and play to their potential. It's really simple as far as I'm concerned.
All right, guys, last one, then we got to go. From Michael, he says, George Payton was at the Nevada-Colorado State game last night scouting Carson Strong. Go Broncos. You bet your bottom dollar he was scouting Carson Strong.
Josh coming in clutch. Strong went 17 of 22 for 288 and 4 touchdowns. He's a nice quarterback prospect. I think he needs upper-level coaching to really unlock his abilities. Matt Corral, for example, has a safer floor, but, Carson's doing some nice things for Nevada, for sure.
I've just got concerns on that knee. If teams sign off on it, then I'm not even going to trip. But Zach, if you wouldn't mind doing the rundown, I'll see how we finished on Facebook. Shout out our great Facebook community, and then we'll dip on out of here.
Okay. That's a visual I didn't need tonight, Tommy. I'm trying to enjoy this victory. But that was the Huddle Up podcast, guys. Until we see you guys next, which will be tomorrow night for the aftermath of the Broncos' great win today against LA. Follow the pod on Twitter at HuddleUpPod. You can follow the main mothership account at Mile High Huddle for all your Broncos news, transactions, rumors, film breakdowns, and so much more. Follow Chad on Twitter at Chad and Jensen. You can follow myself at Kelberman NFL. Follow Scott at Scout Kennedy. And if you haven't, guys, go to huddleuppod.com and get yourself a really comfy, really warm, really cozy MHH hoodie. Get yourself a Football Priest dad hat. Get yourself a trucker hat. A lot of things are there for your purchase for the holiday season right now at huddleuppod.com. Also, facebook.com/Mile High Huddle. Some of you guys, as we alluded to, join me at halftime for Kelberman's Corner. I go live halftime of every Broncos game. Chad's has Broncos Book Club. Eric has Trickle Zone. Each and every week, guys, 3 exclusive shows. Hit that big blue button. Become a supporter today. I promise it's worth it. Also, facebook.com/Mile Huddle Pod. Like that page. And guys, go to Apple Podcasts and leave your Football Priest 5-star review for a chance to win a hoodie, hat, coffee cup, whatever, each and every month. But if you can't do any of those things, do these 3 things. It take a few seconds. Subscribe, like, and share this video, and every video you see on the MHH channel helps us grow, Chad, and reach more Broncos fans just like y'all.
Those are the things you can do to really support us beyond what we see so many of our great community members doing with super chats and stars and subscribing on Facebook, becoming supporters in that way. These 3 things, each and every one of you can do, and it is one of the metrics with which we kind of decide, are we doing a good job? Do the people love us or not? That's how. Are you subscribing? Are you sharing? Are you liking the videos? Big signs. Shout out to these great superstar senders on Facebook tonight. Rando at the top in the great white north of Alaska. Appreciate you. Tim Hoffman, Cameron Wadman, Pete Middleton, Doug Raquel, C. Patrick Havener, Andrew Lampy, Shane Daniels, Zeus McPeak, good to see you, Stu, Travis Weber, Andrew Baker, David Wilder, Raj, Yvonne, Claude, Miguel, George, Dave Glassman, each and every one of you, thank you. And as Zach mentioned with the Apple Podcast 5-star, we will be doing the raffle for that for the month of November on Wednesday night's show. So go get your 5-star review in. Your name will be in the hat. You'll get a nice little MHH care package just in time for Christmas. And don't forget also tomorrow morning, guys, Broncos for breakfast with Nick Kendall, Scott Kennedy. Check that out. Be sure 7:30 a.m. Mountain Time, 9:30 Eastern. And with that, I will let Zach sign us off.
Yes, sir. Chad, have a great rest of your night. Scott as well. Everyone out there, thank you for tuning in. Take care, guys. And as always, go Broncos.